Several leaders of Asia-Pacific economies are gathering in San Francisco for the APEC summit. All eyes are on the much-anticipated Biden-Xi Jinping meeting on the sidelines of the summit, and Chinese President Xi Jinping is in the US on the eve of his high-stakes meet. Last time that the two leaders met was in Bali last year on the sidelines of the G20 summit. Since then, US and China ties have seen several flare-ups. Amidst the tensions, both nations did increase diplomatic efforts. A series of meetings have taken place recently between US and Chinese high-ranking officials, and now, finally, the presidents are coming to the table as they try to stabilize ties. Now, this is Xi Jinping's first US visit in 6 years. Biden says that the talks between the two leaders will seek to resume normal communications between the two superpowers.
To get back on a normal course of corresponding, being able to pick up the phone and talk to one another if there's a crisis, being able to make sure our military still have contact with one another. We can't take, as I told you, we're not trying to decouple from China, but what we're trying to do is change the relationship for the better.
High on Biden's priority list will be restoring military-to-military communication with China. The talks are also expected to be on Taiwan, the wars in Ukraine and West Asia, as well as discussions on trade and people-to-people ties. The meeting comes in the wake of a big chill in the ties between the two nations. The chill has only become worse due to some recent developments. The ties took a downturn after US forces shot down what they alleged to be a Chinese spy balloon over its skies in February earlier this year. Now, then there is the issue of Taiwan, which has resulted in suspension of military ties between the two countries. And China suspended communication after former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan last year. China also expressed anger over a stopover in the US by Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen earlier this year. Another point of friction between the two nations is the tech war. In the latest, the US has tightened export controls to keep China from acquiring advanced computer chips. Beijing has protested against the move. China's stance, which it asserts is neutral on the Russia-Ukraine war, has been criticized by the US. Ahead of the Xi Jinping-Joe Biden meeting, several protesters have gathered in San Francisco. Some held signs that read "End CCP," the initials of Chinese Communist Party, while others held Taiwanese and Tibetan flags. Several pro-China demonstrators have also gathered near the APEC summit venue. All right, our correspondent Susan Tehrani from New York explains what impact this meeting between the two leaders is projected to have on domestic politics for both the leaders in both nations, respectively. Listen in.
Domestic politics in both the United States and China matter. Some analysts believe that Xi Jinping's meeting with Joe Biden is secondary to his main goal of traveling to the United States and telling U.S. industries that China is open for business. For President Biden, he'll be looking over his shoulders during these talks for China's skeptics, his Republican rivals in the 2024 presidential election, as well as Republicans in Congress, and not to appear too accommodating to the Chinese. And while the China economy is not doing very well, and it's something that the White House hopes it can play on in these negotiations and talks with Xi Jinping, well, it's no secret that President Biden's poll numbers here at home are also struggling and suffering. And some analysts believe that the Chinese side will also benefit from that aspect.